We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
We are hanging out with Jumper. Oh, Jumper. Oh, Jumper's retirement party. The last of the Transformers videos for Jumper. Right, Jumper? Oh, Jumper leading us in. Well, here we go. Only one of two left. This is it. The last two where Cliff Jumper will be introducing us in the beginning. Here we go. Retirement party for Cliff Jumper. We've got Transformers Studio Series 86 Transformers, the movie, and we have Junkheap. Another Junkion right here. Oh yeah, we're getting to this guy before we get to the main leader. These ones have been sitting in the back of my collection for quite a while. I've been meaning to get around to actually taking these ones out and reviewing them. Finally, the day is here, and here we go.
Stop thief! No, welcome Wagonello, stranger, with that good coffee flavour for you.
Here we go, right out of the box with Junkheap. Now, from what I've seen with most of the Junkions that they've released in this Voyager class, most of them seem like there's a lot of reuse of body parts on them. So, the waist section down here, the thighs, even the lower legs and the feet and everything, like all the spikes and everything, they're reused. I think most of the lower half of the arms are reuse as well. I think the only place it gets different is once you get into the shoulder up here, that's different. The top of the chest is different. Even the centerpiece right here as part of his waist looks like it's the same on all of them. Of course, the head sculpt is different. And most of the stuff that's on the back for the bike, I think, is a little bit different. But I guess we'll get into that once we get him transformed, then I know for sure. So let's get out the rest of his accessories and put him in some action poses.
It's not hard to knock them down. It's getting them to stay down that's the trick.
We'll go with Junkheap in a little bit of an action pose, showing off some of that articulation, the bend at the knees, the turn at the thighs, of course the movement up in the hips that flares out and then turns all the way up. The saddlebags move to get out a little bit of the way as the thighs come up. Really good rock and a little bit of pivot down in the toes down there. Got a nice elbow bend right there. He does have the turn at the top of the bicep, has hand movement, and he has decent shoulder movement and turn and a little bit of pivot up. He's got a decent rock on this head. He can look up quite a ways. It does have a pretty decent waist turn right there. And of course, built into the top of his forearm, he actually has these little guns built in right there. So while he may not come with a blaster, he does have a blaster built right into his frame. Here we go with a bit of a running sequence right here with Junkheap. I did manage somehow to get this guy to balance on one foot, and I gotta say I find that truly amazing because this guy has quite a few loose joints in there. Not so sloppy that they just flop all over the place, but they are a little bit on the loose side, and I can only assume because it's a remold. Because they're basically reusing 90% of this mold from the Wreck-Gar figure, it degraded just a little bit. There's a little bit of degradation in this mold, so some of the joints are a little bit sloppier than they should. Like even the waist joint that clicks down into the bottom to keep his whole top half from just falling forward, even that has a hard time staying in place. But this guy does have a phenomenal amount of movement. Get into this running position, and he can sit there and balance even with these somewhat weaker joints. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Here we go with Junkheap in his Junkion motorcycle form. I'm not overly impressed with this motorcycle. It is not horrendous looking, but there are a lot of things about this, the way everything ports together, especially in these side pieces. These kind of port onto a little tiny peg on his feet, and you can't really see the peg. It's so difficult. Yet there's a huge gap right here that just doesn't look very good. And the back end of the bike just looks very, I don't know, it just looks like it's lacking something. The axe can port onto the back end right there, which is kind of cool. So you got somewhere to port it. And of course, down here at the bottom of the legs, he has these little fold out kickstand so you can kind of stand them up in motorcycle mode. I mean, the motorcycle's not horrible, but there are a few problems with this. It's not perfect. It's not bad looking, but it could have been a lot better. What are you going to do?
Hi, George Chemo Sabis, your smashed up friend, soon like brand new with 90-day warranty.
And in case you didn't notice, he's got the little spinning axe on there. Same one, I'm pretty sure that comes with Wreck-Gar. And of course, he has the tires that port down into the bottom half of his legs. I will say that overall, this is a pretty damn cool looking Junkion figure. I wish the joints weren't so sloppy on this. I hope moving forward that all of them aren't like that, but in the case that they are, this is one of those things that Hasbro needs to really pay attention to moving forward, or they're going to really start pissing off a lot of the fans. Because nobody likes to get a brand new toy that was just created and then have all kinds of sloppy joints on it. It is an absolute nonsense thing to happen, especially when you're reusing a mold. I've seen them reuse molds before. Grimlock, Ratchet, Ironhide, and most of those joints stay pretty tight. I mean, you still get a few stinkers now and then, and this one, it just wasn't as good as it should have been. And it really is a shame. It is a pretty cool figure. It's got tons of movement. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if it came with a few more accessories, but not really needed. He's a Junkion, so I think what he has here is more than suffice. I wish you kind of would have got something different than an axe, though. Should have gave something different than just an axe, because I think of that axe and I think of Wreck-Gar's character. I really don't think of nobody else's. But overall, this is a decent looking figure, and because some of these joints are a little bit sloppier than I'd like them, even though this guy looks great, the best I could say is an 8 out of 10 for this. And it really is a shame because it looks phenomenal. It's got phenomenal movement, but the joints are just a little sloppy. And over time, like positioning this thing, transforming it, those joints are only going to get worse. So because of that reason and that reason only, this guy gets an 8 out of 10. If the joints weren't as sloppy as they are, this would easily have been a 9 out of 10.
Oh, there goes Jumper, the master of the Transformers, getting his lettuce on in his home, relaxing, maxing, as we're getting ready for the last Transformer video that Jumper is taking part in. And we're going to be getting ready to hand it over to Helmet, aren't we, Jumper, as Jumper moves into retirement.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.